The warning lights painted the engine room red as Captain Park June ran through the metal corridors of the starship. New Soul, his boots echoed against the floor while emergency alarms screamed through the air. Behind him, his crew followed with worried faces and quick steps. "How bad is it?" Park June asked as he reached the massive engine bay doors. Chief Engineer Lihana stood waiting with her hands shaking. Her face was pale and her eyes were wide with fear. "Captain, I have never seen anything like this before." The exotic matter drive just stopped working, but it did not break in any normal way. Park June stepped through the doors and stopped. The engine room was huge, filled with machines that reached up to the ceiling. Pipes and wires ran everywhere like metal veins. But something was very wrong. The air itself seemed to shake and twist. Blue sparks danced around the main engine core like angry lightning. "What is that sound?" Park June asked. A deep humming noise filled the room. It was not the normal engine sound they knew. This was different. It made their teeth hurt and their skin feel strange. The humming got louder and softer in waves, like the heartbeat of a giant monster. Lihana pointed to the central control panel. Numbers and graphs moved across the screens too fast to read. Red warning messages appeared and disappeared every second. "The quantum resonance patterns are completely wrong. Look at these readings." Park June looked at the screen but could not understand what he saw. The energy levels jumped up and down like a wild animal. Temperature readings showed impossible numbers. Some parts of the engine were too hot, others too cold. Nothing made sense. "Can you fix it?" he asked. Lihana shook her head. "Captain, this is beyond anything I learned in engineering school. The exotic matter is creating some kind of feedback loop. The energy is bouncing back and forth inside the drive core. Each time it bounces, it gets stronger." "What does that mean for the ship?" "If we cannot stop it, the energy will keep building up. In 3 days, maybe less, it will tear the ship apart from the inside." Park June felt his stomach drop. The New Soul carried 50,000 people, families, workers, children, all traveling to the new colony world of Haven Prime. If the ship broke apart in deep space, they would all die. "Send emergency messages to every nearby ship," Park June ordered. "Tell them we need the best engineers in the galaxy. Money is no problem. We need help now." Lihana nodded and ran to send the messages. Park June stayed in the engine room, watching the dancing sparks and listening to the strange humming. He had been a ship captain for 20 years. He had seen engine problems before, but this was different. This felt impossible. 2 hours later, Lihana returned with news. "Captain, we got responses. 3 alien engineering teams are coming. They will be here in 6 hours. "Which teams?" "The Crystalline Confederation is sending their best quantum specialist, a being called Vexstar. They say he has fixed impossible engine problems for 200 years. Park June nodded. The crystalline aliens were famous for their understanding of energy and quantum physics. If anyone could understand what was happening, it would be them. "The Reptilian Empire is also sending someone," Lihana continued, "an engineer named Morden. He helped design the New Soul's basic framework 5 years ago. He knows this ship better than anyone." "Good. Who else?" "The Gaseous Collective is sending Zalfi. She can change her form to interact directly with energy fields. She might be able to see what is wrong inside the engine core." Park June felt a little hope. 3 of the most advanced alien species in the galaxy were sending their best people. Surely one of them would know how to fix the problem. "What about human engineers?" he asked. Hannah smiled for the first time that day. "I sent a message to Kang Dae. He is already on his way." Park June's face lit up. Kang Dae was a legend among starship mechanics. The old man had fixed engines that other people said were impossible to repair. He understood machines in a way that seemed almost magical. If Kang Dae could not fix the engine, then maybe no human could. The next few hours passed slowly. The strange humming from the engine got louder. The sparks grew brighter. The energy readings on the screens became even more wild and crazy. Lihana and her team tried everything they could think of, but nothing worked. Park June walked through the ship, talking to passengers and crew. He told them that help was coming. He said the best engineers in the galaxy would fix the problem, but inside he was scared. What if even they could not help? Finally, the first alien ship arrived. Vexstar S shuttle docked with the new Sol. The crystalline alien was tall and thin, made of what looked like living glass. Light moved through his transparent body in flowing patterns. When he spoke, his voice sounded like music. "Captain Park June," Vexstar said, "I have come as quickly as possible. Show me this impossible engine problem." They went to the engine room together. Vexstar stopped when he saw the dancing sparks and heard the humming sound. His crystal body flashed with different colors as he thought. "This is very strange," he said. "The quantum field is behaving in ways I have never seen. It is like the laws of physics are fighting with each other." An hour later, Morden arrived. The reptilian alien was short and covered in green scales. His eyes were large and yellow, and they moved independently to look at different things at the same time. He had designed starships for 50 years. "This should not be possible," Morden said after studying the engine. "The ship's framework is strong, but these energy levels will break it apart. The metal cannot handle this much stress." Zalfi came last. She was the strangest of the three aliens. Her body was made of glowing gas that changed colors and shapes. She could stretch and compress herself to fit into small spaces. When she spoke, her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I will enter the energy field," she said. "I can see what is happening inside the core." She flowed into the engine like smoke. For 10 minutes, she moved through the mechanical parts, studying the energy patterns. When she came out, she looked worried. "The exotic matter is not broken," she reported, "but it is confused. Different types of energy are mixing together in wrong ways. They are creating chaos." The three alien experts worked together for hours. They used advanced scanners and quantum computers. They tried different theories and tested new ideas, but nothing worked. The engine kept humming its strange song. The sparks kept dancing. The energy readings kept jumping around like mad dot. Finally, Kangde arrived on the last shuttle of the day. Kangde stepped into the engine room and stopped. The old mechanic was 60 years old with gray hair and rough hands that had fixed 1,000 broken machines. He wore simple work clothes and carried an old metal toolbox that his father had given him. "This is bad," he said quietly, looking at the dancing blue sparks around the engine core. Captain Park June walked over to him. "Day, thank you for coming so quickly. These alien experts have been working for hours, but they cannot figure out what is wrong." Kangde nodded and looked around the room. Vexstar stood near the main control panel, his crystal body flashing with worried colors. Morden was checking the ship's metal framework with his scanning tools. Zalfi floated near the ceiling like a cloud of glowing smoke. "What have you found so far?" Kangde asked. Vexstar turned toward him. The crystalline alien's voice sounded like wind chimes when he spoke. "Human mechanic, we have discovered something very strange. The quantum resonance patterns are completely wrong, but they are not broken in any way we understand." "Show me," Kangde said. They gathered around the control screens. Lihana pointed to the energy readings that jumped up and down like crazy lines. "See these numbers? They should be steady. But look how they keep changing." Kangde studied the screen for a long time. His old eyes moved back and forth, following the patterns. "The energy is fighting itself," he said finally. "Yes," Vexstar agreed. "But why? We have checked every component. Everything is working perfectly. Yet the exotic matter drive creates this impossible feedback loop." Morden came over with his scanning results. The reptilian alien's yellow eyes looked worried. "I have bad news about the ship's structure. The metal framework is starting to show stress fractures. The energy waves are shaking the entire ship." He showed them pictures on his scanner. Tiny cracks were appearing in the metal walls and support beams. They were small now, but they were growing. "How long do we have?" Captain Park June asked. "At this rate, maybe 60 hours before the ship breaks apart," Morden answered. "The cracks will spread like a disease through the metal. When enough of them connect, the new soul will split in half." Everyone in the room felt a chill. 60 hours was not much time to save 50,000 lives. Zalfi flowed down from the ceiling and formed herself into a shape like a person made of glowing. Guess. I have been inside the energy field many times. Each time I see the same thing. 3 different types of exotic matter energy are mixing together, but they do not want to mix. What do you mean? Kande asked. Think of it like oil and water, Zalfi explained. Oil and water do not mix naturally. If you shake them together, they separate again. But in this engine, 3 types of energy are being forced to work together. They keep trying to separate, and that creates the chaos. Vexstar's crystal body flashed bright blue as he thought about this. That makes sense, but why is this happening now? This engine has worked perfectly for 5 years. Good question, Lihana said. I checked all the maintenance records. We have not changed anything recently. No new parts, no software updates, nothing. Kangde walked closer to the engine core. The humming sound was getting louder. The blue sparks jumped and danced like small lightning bolts. He put his hand near the metal casing and felt the vibrations. Tell me about this engine, he said. What makes it work? Morden opened his datapad. The new Soul uses a trifusion exotic matter drive. It combines quantum tunneling technology from the Crystalline Confederation plasma containment systems, from my people, and energy modulation techniques from the gaseous collective. 3 different technologies from 3 different species, Kangde repeated slowly. Yes, it was a great achievement of cooperation between our peoples. Each species contributed their best technology to make the most advanced engine ever built. Kanga. Day nodded, but his face looked troubled. And it has worked fine for 5 years? Perfect operation, Vexstar confirmed. No problems at all. Until yesterday. What happened yesterday that was different? Lihana checked her computer records. Nothing special. We did routine maintenance on the navigation system. We cleaned the air filters. We checked the food storage areas. Normal ship operations. Wait, Morden said suddenly. Yesterday we also updated the engine control software. It was a small update to improve efficiency. All 3 species sent new code. At the same time? Kangde asked. Yes, the updates were designed to work together. They were supposed to make the engine 5% more efficient. Vexstar's crystal body flashed red with realization. The updates. Each of our species sent improvements to our own technology. But we did not test how all 3 updates would work together. So now you have 3 new software programs trying to control one engine, Kangde said. And they are fighting each other. The aliens looked at each other with growing understanding. Zalfi flowed into a tight spiral as she thought. That explains what I saw inside the energy field. Each type of exotic matter is trying to follow different instructions. Can we remove the updates? Captain Park Jun asked. Lee Hannah shook her head. I tried that first thing, but the updates changed the basic control systems. We cannot go back to the old software. It would be like trying to remove part of someone's brain. Then we need to fix the new software, Morden said. How? Vexstar asked. Each update uses quantum programming techniques that only my species understands. The plasma control systems use reptilian mathematical concepts that are completely different. And the energy modulation requires gaseous collective consciousness. Algorithms. In other words, Kangde said, none of you can understand what the others did. Exactly. We each speak a different technological language. For the next few hours, the experts tried everything they could think of. Vexstar attempted to reprogram the quantum tunneling systems, but the changes interfered with the plasma containment. Morden tried to adjust the plasma systems, but that made the energy modulation go crazy. Zalfi worked on the energy flow, but her changes caused problems with the quantum fields. Every time one of them fixed something, it broke something else. The engine was like a puzzle with pieces that did not fit together anymore. The humming sound grew louder. The blue sparks became brighter and more violent. The energy readings on the screens became even more wild. The cracks in the ship's metal framework spread further. We are making it worse, Vexstar admitted finally. His crystal body had turned a sad purple color. I agree, Morden said. Each time we try to fix our own technology, we interfere with the others. It is impossible. Zalfi formed herself into a small, tight ball of glowing gas. In my species, we say that some problems cannot be solved by force. Sometimes you must step back and find a completely different approach. But what other approach? Is there? Lihanna asked. This is the most advanced engine technology in the galaxy. If the three best species cannot fix it together, who can? Kangde sat down on a metal box and opened his old toolbox. Inside were simple tools that looked ancient compared to the alien scanning devices and quantum computers around the room. He picked up a wrench and turned it over in his hands. Maybe that is the problem, he said quietly. What do you mean? Captain Park Jun asked. Maybe it is too advanced. Maybe we need to think about this differently. The aliens looked at him with confusion. How could an engine be too advanced? How could thinking differently help when the problem was so complex? But Kangde just sat there, holding his simple wrench and listening to the angry humming of the broken engine. His old eyes were thinking about something that none of the experts had considered yet. Time was running out. The ship was slowly tearing itself apart. And somewhere in the depths of space, 50,000 people waited to see if the greatest minds in the galaxy could save them. The answer, however, might come from the simplest mind of all. The engine room had become a place of desperation. For 8 hours, the greatest minds in the galaxy had worked without rest. Tools and datapads covered every surface. Empty coffee cups and food containers showed how long the experts had been trying to solve the impossible problem. Kangde sat on his metal box, still holding the old wrench. His eyes were closed, but he was not sleeping. He was listening. The humming from the engine had changed. It was getting faster and more angry. The blue sparks were brighter now, jumping higher into the air. Vexstar stood near the control panel, his crystal body dim with exhaustion. I have tried every quantum algorithm my species knows. Nothing works. Each time I stabilize the quantum field, the plasma containment fails. Morden was lying on the floor looking up at the metal framework. Above, his yellow eyes tracked the spreading cracks in the ceiling. The stress fractures are growing faster now. I estimate 40 hours before complete structural failure. Zalfi had spread herself thin across the room like fog. I can feel the energy getting more violent. It is like 3 different storms trying to occupy the same space. They are tearing each other apart. Captain Park Jun paced back and forth, his boots clicking on the metal floor. There has to be something we are missing, some solution we have not thought of. We have thought of everything, Vexstar said sadly. My species has been working with quantum energy for 1,000 years. If there was a solution using our technology, I would know it. Same with plasma containment, Morden agreed. My people invented these systems. There is no reptilian technique we have not tried. Lihanna looked up from her computer screen. Captain, the evacuation pods are ready. We can save maybe 10,000 people, but the rest? She did not finish the sentence. The room fell silent. Except for the angry humming of the broken engine. Everyone knew what she meant. 40,000 people would die if they could not fix the problem. Families, children, elderly people, workers looking for new lives on Haven Prime, all doomed because the most advanced technology in the galaxy had turned against itself. We should begin evacuation procedures, Vexstar said quietly. At least, we can save some lives. Not yet, Kangde said without opening his eyes. Human mechanic, we have tried everything possible, Morden protested. Even working together, our 3 species cannot solve this problem. What else can we do? Kangde opened his eyes and looked around the room. Where is my daughter? Your daughter? Captain Park Jun asked with confusion. Nari, she came with me on the shuttle. She should be somewhere on the ship? Lihanna checked her passenger list. Kang Nari, 19 years old. She is in passenger. Quarters section C, why do you ask? She has been studying engineering. Maybe she can help. The aliens looked at each other with polite doubt. Vexstar's crystal body flashed with gentle colors. Human Day, we respect your family. But this problem requires centuries of experience with the most advanced technologies. A young human student cannot. Call her, Kang Dae interrupted. Captain Park Jun hesitated. They were running out of time. Every minute spent on impossible solutions was a minute closer to disaster. But Kang Dae had never asked for anything unreasonable before. Lihana, contact Kang Nari. Ask her to come to the engine room. 50 minutes later, the engine room doors opened. A young woman walked in carrying a small bag and a data pad. She was small and thin with long black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore plain clothes and looked nervous around so many important people. "Father," she said quietly, bowing slightly to Kang Dae. "Nari, come here. I want you to see something." She walked over to her father, glancing curiously at the three alien experts. She had never seen beings like them before. Vexstar looked like a living sculpture made of colored glass. Morden reminded her of the lizards she had seen in Earth. Zoos, but much larger and smarter. Zalfi was the strangest, a cloud of glowing smoke that somehow had a personality. "What is wrong with the engine?" Nari asked her father. Kang Dae pointed to the dancing sparks around the engine core. 3. Different technologies are fighting each other. The experts cannot make them work together. Nari looked at the control screens. The crazy jumping numbers and flashing warning messages made her eyes hurt. But she kept looking, trying to understand what she saw. "Can you explain the problem to me?" she asked politely. Vexstar stepped forward. His musical voice was kind but tired. "Young human, the quantum tunneling system creates microscopic holes in space. The plasma containment system holds the exotic matter in magnetic fields. The energy modulation system controls how much power flows through the engine. They are like 3 different languages," Morden added. "Each system speaks in its own way. When they work separately, everything was fine. But now they interfere with each other. Think of it like 3 different songs playing at the same time," Zalfi said, forming herself into a more solid shape. "Each song is beautiful alone, but together they create noise instead of music." Nari nodded slowly. She understood the problem, but she was confused about something else. Why did this start happening now? What changed? "Software updates," Lihana explained. "Each species sent improvements to their own technology, but the improvements do not work well together. So you have 3 new computer programs trying to control one engine," Nari said. "Exactly, and we cannot make them cooperate." Nari was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she opened her datapad and began reading something. The experts watched her with polite patience, but they did not expect her to understand anything useful. She was just a young human girl with basic engineering knowledge. How could she help when the greatest minds in 3 species had failed? But Nari was thinking about something different. While the experts saw the problem as too complex to solve, she was thinking about it in a much simpler way. "Father," she said, "finally, remember the old factory on Earth where you taught me about machines?" Kang Dae smiled for the first time in hours. "The textile factory, with the old steam engines." "Yes, remember the problem they had when they installed 3 different types of looms? They all tried to work at different speeds," Kang Dae said, his eyes lighting up with memory. "And how did they fix it?" "They installed a mechanical governor, a simple device that regulated the speed of all 3 machines." The alien experts looked at each other with confusion. What were these humans talking about? Steam engines and textile looms were ancient technology. How could such primitive examples help with quantum engineering? But Nari was getting excited. She turned to face the 3 aliens. "What if the problem is not that your technologies are too different? What if the problem is that they are trying to work too independently?" "I do not understand," Vexstar said. "In the old factory, each loom wanted to work at its own best speed. But when they all worked at different speeds, the whole system became chaotic. The solution was not to make the looms more complex. It was to give them something simple to follow." "A rhythm," Kang Dae said, understanding where his daughter was going. "Exactly. All 3 looms followed the same basic rhythm set by the mechanical governor. They could still do their individual jobs, but they did them in harmony. Morden's yellow eyes moved independently as he thought about this. Are you suggesting we need some kind of mediator between our three technologies? Not a mediator, Nari said. A conductor. Like in an orchestra? Each musician plays their own instrument, but they all follow the conductor's timing. But what kind of conductor could work with quantum fields, plasma containment, and energy modulation? Zalfi asked. Nari looked at her father and smiled. Something simple, something mechanical, something that does not try to be smarter than the systems it controls. The experts stared at her. The idea was so basic, so primitive, that it seemed ridiculous. Use simple mechanical technology to control the most advanced systems in the galaxy? It was like suggesting they fix a computer with a hammer, but as Nari explained her idea in more detail, something strange happened. The impossible problem began to look possible again. For the first time in hours, there was hope in the engine room. The engine room fell silent as Nari finished explaining her idea. The three alien experts looked at each other with expressions that mixed confusion and curiosity. The concept was so simple that it seemed almost childish compared to their advanced quantum computers and energy manipulation systems. Vextar was the first to speak. His crystal body flickered with uncertain colors. Young human, you are suggesting we create a mechanical device to control quantum fields. This goes against everything we know about advanced physics. But does it work? Nari asked quietly. Morden scratched his scaly chin with one clawed finger. In theory, a mechanical governor could provide timing signals. But how would such a primitive device interface with our plasma containment systems? The same way the old steam governor worked, Nari replied. She opened her datapad and showed them a simple diagram. It does not need to understand the complex systems. It just needs to give them a steady rhythm to follow. Zalfi flowed closer, her gaseous form brightening with interest. This is unusual. My species has always believed that complex problems require complex solutions, but you suggest the opposite. Sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones, Kangde said, standing up from his metal box. I have fixed many machines by making them less complicated, not more. Captain Park Jun looked at the time display on the wall. We have 36 hours left. Every idea we have tried has failed. Maybe it is time to try something completely different. Lihana pulled up the engine schematics on her computer. Even if this could work, how would we build such a device? We would need to connect it to three completely different alien technologies. Nari walked over to the engine core, studying the dancing blue sparks. Father, what do all machines have in common? Vibration, Conde answered immediately. Every machine vibrates when it works. Even the most advanced alien technology creates physical movement, exactly. The quantum tunneling system vibrates at the subatomic level. The plasma containment creates magnetic pulses. The energy modulation produces frequency waves. They are all just different types of vibration. Vextar's crystal body suddenly flashed bright white with realization. She is correct. At the most basic level, all our technologies are forms of controlled vibration. So if we can create a master vibration that all three systems can follow, Morden began. They will work in harmony instead of fighting each other, Zalfi finished. Nari nodded eagerly. Like a metronome for musicians. It does not play the music, but it helps everyone play together. The alien experts looked at each other with growing excitement. For the first time in hours, they saw a path forward. It was not the path they had expected, but it might be the path that would save the ship. What would we need to build this mechanical governor? Captain Park Jun asked. Kangde opened his old toolbox and began pulling out simple tools. Basic materials. Metal, springs, gears, nothing fancy. The simpler the better. I can provide precise measurements of our quantum frequency patterns, Vextar offered. And I can calculate the exact timing needed for plasma containment, Morden added. I will map the energy modulation requirements, Zalfi said. Lihana looked doubtful. But how do we connect a mechanical device to quantum computers and plasma generators? The interfaces are completely different, Nari smiled. We do not connect to the computers. We connect to the machines themselves. Every alien technology, no matter how advanced, eventually moves something physical. We connect to those physical movements. Vibration sensors, Kangde said, understanding his daughter's plan. We attach vibration sensors to each system. The mechanical governor reads those vibrations and sends back a master timing signal. It could work, Vextar admitted. If the timing is precise enough, our quantum systems could synchronize to the mechanical rhythm. The plasma containment could also follow such a signal, Morden agreed. It would be like having a conductor for our technological orchestra. Zalfi flowed into an excited spiral. My species loves rhythm and harmony. This appeals to us on a very deep level. Captain Park Jun made his decision. Do it, we have nothing to lose and everything to gain. The next few hours were unlike anything the alien experts had ever experienced. Instead of working with quantum computers and energy fields, they found themselves helping to build a simple, mechanical device using basic tools and spare parts. Kangde showed them how to cut and shape metal pieces. Nari explained how gears and springs could create precise timing mechanisms. The aliens watched in fascination as father and daughter worked with their hands, measuring and adjusting with intuition rather than computer calculations. This is so primitive, Vextar observed, but his tone was curious rather than critical. Yet it is also elegant, Morden replied. Look how few parts are needed. Our quantum computers require millions of components. This device has maybe 50 pieces. Zalfi formed herself into different shapes to help hold parts in place while they worked. I am beginning to understand why humans are good at fixing impossible problems. You do not overthink them. As they worked, Nari explained more about her theory. Advanced civilizations sometimes forget that the universe itself runs on simple principles. Gravity is simple. Energy wants to flow from high to low. Objects in motion stay in motion. These basic rules never change, no matter how complex our technology becomes. You are saying we got so focused on the complexity that we forgot the simplicity? Underneath, Vextar said. Exactly. Your three technologies are not really fighting each other. They are just trying to follow their own natural rhythms. Give them a common rhythm to follow, and they will work together. The mechanical governor slowly took shape. It looked like a cross between an old clock and a small engine. Gears turned smoothly, springs provided tension, and metal arms moved back and forth in steady patterns. It was beautiful in its simplicity. Now we need to connect it to the alien systems, Lihana said. This was the most challenging part. They had to attach vibration sensors to quantum field generators, plasma containment units, and energy modulation systems. Each alien species helped connect to their own technology, translating between mechanical vibrations and their advanced control systems. Ready for the first test, Morden announced. Everyone stepped back as Nari reached for the activation switch. The mechanical governor began to turn, its gears clicking softly, its metal arms moving in precise patterns. The vibration sensors picked up the rhythm and sent signals to the three alien systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the crazy energy readings on the control screens began to change. The wild jumping numbers started to follow a pattern. The chaotic feedback loops began to synchronize. It is working, Vextar whispered, his crystal body glowing with amazement. The angry humming from the engine core grew quieter. The violent blue sparks began to dance in more organized patterns. The three types of exotic matter energy were still mixing, but now they were mixing in harmony instead of chaos. Incredible, Zalfi said, her gaseous form pulsing with excitement. The simplest solution was the correct solution all along. But their celebration was premature. Warning alarms suddenly filled the room with loud noise. The warning alarms screamed through the engine room as red lights flashed everywhere. The mechanical governor was working, but something new was going wrong. The energy readings that had just started to stabilize were now jumping around worse than before. What is happening? Captain Park Jun shouted over the noise. Lihana frantically checked her control screens. The mechanical governor is synchronizing the three systems, but the total energy output is increasing too fast. The engine is producing more power than the ship can handle. Morden ran his scanner over the metal framework above their heads. The stress fractures have stopped spreading, but now we have a new problem. The ship's power distribution network cannot handle this much energy. Vexstar's crystal body flashed red with alarm. The quantum fields are perfectly synchronized now, but they are amplifying each other. When the three systems work in perfect harmony, they create much more power than when they fight. Too much power, Zalfi added, her gaseous form swirling. Anxiously, the energy has nowhere to go. It will overload every system on the ship. Nari stared at the mechanical governor, watching its gears turn smoothly. We fixed one problem and created another. The three systems are working together now, but they are working too well. The humming from the engine core was getting deeper and more powerful. The blue sparks were no longer chaotic, but they were much brighter and stronger. Instead of fighting each other, the three types of exotic matter were combining their energy into something incredible and dangerous. How long before the power systems overload? Captain Park Jun asked. Maybe 20 minutes, Lihana replied. The electrical conduits are already getting too hot. If they burn out, we will lose life support, navigation, everything. Can we reduce the power output? Condé asked. Not easily, Vexstar replied. The quantum fields are locked in perfect resonance now. Breaking that resonance might cause the original chaos problem to return. And the plasma containment is also perfectly stable, Morden said. If we disturb it, the exotic matter might escape containment entirely. The energy modulation system is also working at peak efficiency, Zalfi added. Any changes could destabilize everything we have accomplished. They were trapped between two disasters. The original chaos that would tear the ship apart, or the new perfect harmony that would overload all their systems. Either way, 50,000 people would die. There has to be another solution, Nari said, pacing around the mechanical governor. We cannot be this close to success just to fail in a different way. She stopped suddenly and looked at her father. The old textile factory. What happened when they first installed the mechanical governor? Kangde thought for a moment. The looms worked perfectly, but they produced too much cloth. The factory could not handle all the extra production. How did they solve that problem? They added a throttle control. A way to regulate how much power the governor allowed the machines to use. Nari's eyes lit up with excitement. That is what we need. Not just synchronization, but also power regulation. The alien experts looked at each other doubtfully. Young human, Vexstar said gently, power regulation for exotic matter engines requires incredibly complex calculations. The energy levels we are dealing with could destroy entire planets if handled incorrectly. But the principle is still simple, Nari insisted. We do not need to understand all the complex physics. We just need to control how much energy flows through the system. A throttle, Condé said, understanding immediately. Every engine needs a throttle. Morden's yellow eyes moved independently as he considered this. Theoretically possible. But how do we build a throttle for three different types of exotic matter? The same way we built the governor, Nari replied. Mechanically, simple and direct. She grabbed her datapad and started sketching quickly. Look, the mechanical governor controls timing. We need another mechanical device to control power flow, like a valve that opens and closes. But exotic matter is not like water flowing through pipes, Zalfi protested. It exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. At the basic level, it is still energy moving from one place to another, Nari argued. Energy always follows the path of least resistance. If we can make that path bigger or smaller, we can control the flow. Lihana checked the time. 15 minutes until system overload. If we are going to try this, we need to start now. Captain Park Jun looked around the room at the desperate faces. Do it. Build the throttle. What followed was the most frantic construction project any of them had ever experienced. Using spare parts from around the engine room, Condé and Nari began building a second mechanical device. This one was more complex than the governor, with multiple moving parts that could open and close like valves. The alien experts helped however they could. Vexstar calculated the energy flow patterns they needed to control. Morden designed mounting brackets to attach the throttle mechanism to the ship's power distribution network. Zalfi used her gaseous form to reach into tight spaces and make delicate connections. 10 minutes, Lihana announced. The smell of burning electronics was starting to fill the air. Almost finished, Kangde said, tightening the last few bolts on the throttle mechanism. Nari, connect the control cables. Nari worked quickly, her small hands moving precisely to attach the mechanical throttle to the same vibration sensor network they had used for the governor. Now they had two mechanical devices working together, one to control timing, one to control power. 5 minutes, Lihana warned. Some of the electrical conduits are already failing. Ready? Nari announced, stepping back from the throttle. Controls, everyone held their breath as she slowly turned the throttle dial. The mechanical device responded smoothly, its valves opening and closing in precise patterns. Immediately, the power readings on the control screens began to drop. The overwhelming energy output decreased to manageable levels. The burning smell in the air started to fade. The red warning lights stopped flashing. "It is working," Vexstar said with amazement. "The exotic matter systems are still perfectly synchronized, but now the power output is controlled." "The electrical systems are stabilizing," Lihana reported. "Power levels are returning to normal ranges." Morden scanned the ship's framework again. No new stress fractures. The existing cracks have stopped growing. The ship is stable. Zalfi flowed around the engine core, checking the energy fields. Perfect harmony and perfect control. The three exotic matter systems are working together like they were always meant to. The angry humming from the engine core had become a gentle, steady purr. The violent blue sparks had transformed into soft, rhythmic pulses of light. The chaotic energy readings had become smooth. Predictable curves. For the first time in 2 days, the engine room was peaceful. Captain Park Jun sat down heavily in a chair, exhaustion and relief washing over him. "Is it really fixed?" "Better than fixed," Nari said, smiling as she watched the mechanical governor and throttle working together. "The engine is now more efficient than it ever was before." The three alien technologies are not just working together, they are making each other better. The simple mechanical devices continued their steady work, clicking and turning with precise timing. Two basic machines, built from spare parts and old-fashioned engineering knowledge, had solved the most complex technological problem in the galaxy, but their success would soon mean much more than just saving one ship. 3 hours later, the new Soul was traveling through space at full speed toward Haven Prime. The engine room had become a place of celebration rather than desperation. The mechanical governor and throttle continued their steady work, their simple clicking sounds now like music to everyone who heard them. Captain Park Jun stood before the main view screen in the control room, speaking to the thousands of passengers throughout the ship. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, I am happy to announce that our engine problems have been completely solved. We will arrive at Haven Prime on schedule." Cheers and applause echoed through the corridors as 50,000 people learned they would live to see their new home. But in the engine room, a different kind of celebration was taking place. Vexstar stood near the mechanical devices, his crystal body glowing with fascination. "I have been studying these machines for hours. The engineering principles are so basic that we learned them in our first year of technical education. Yet we never thought to apply them to advanced quantum systems." "That is because we forgot something important," Morden replied. He was sitting on the floor, sketching diagrams of the mechanical governor. "We became so focused on making our technology more complex that we stopped thinking about making it better." Zalfi had formed herself into a loose cloud around the engine core, feeling the harmonious energy flows. "In my species, we say that wisdom comes from understanding the simple truths that connect all things. These humans have reminded us of truths we had forgotten." Lihana was recording everything on her computer. "The performance improvements are incredible. The engine is now 30% more efficient than before. Fuel consumption is down, power output is up, and everything runs smoother. Kangde was cleaning his tools and putting them back in his old toolbox. The simple wrenches and metal files looked strange next to all the advanced alien technology around them, but they had accomplished something that quantum computers and energy manipulators could not. "Father," Nari said quietly, "I think we started something important today." "What do you mean?" "Look at them," she pointed to the three alien experts. "They are not just interested in our solution. They are interested in our way of thinking." She was right. Vexstar was asking detailed questions about human mechanical engineering principles. Morden wanted to know about other simple solutions humans had used for complex problems. Zalfi was curious about human intuition and how they approached problem-solving differently from other species. Captain Park. June entered the engine room with a big smile on his face. "I have good news. Word about what happened here is already spreading through the galaxy. 3 different alien governments have sent official requests." "What kind of requests?" Condé asked. "They want human mechanics stationed on their most important starships. They want to learn from our approach to engineering problems." Vexstar stepped forward. "Captain Park June, I would like to make a formal request from the Crystalline Confederation. We wish to establish an exchange program with human engineers. We will teach them our quantum technologies, and they will teach us their intuitive problem-solving methods." "The Reptilian Empire makes the same request," Morden added. "Our ship designers would benefit greatly from learning human mechanical principles." "And the gaseous collective agrees," Zalfi said. "We believe that combining our advanced physics with human practical wisdom will benefit all species." Lihana looked up from her computer with amazement. "I am getting messages from engineering schools across the galaxy. They want to create new courses that combine alien technology with human mechanical engineering." Nari felt overwhelmed by all the attention. A few hours ago, she had been just a young engineering student. Now the greatest minds in 3 species wanted to learn from her simple ideas. "I do not understand," she said. "What we did was not really that special. We just applied basic principles to a complex problem." "That is exactly why it was special," Vexstar explained. "My species has been working with quantum energy for 1,000 years. We know every advanced technique, every complex equation, every sophisticated algorithm. But we had forgotten the basic principles that make everything work." "Same with us," Morden agreed. "We can design starships that travel between galaxies, but we forgot how to think about simple mechanical solutions." "Your species brings something unique to the galaxy," Zalfi added. "You see past the complexity to the simple truths underneath. That is a gift that cannot be learned from textbooks." Over the following weeks, as the new soul continued its journey to Haven Prime, Nari found herself teaching engineering classes to alien students over the communication system. She explained simple mechanical principles to beings with technologies far more advanced than anything humans had ever built, but the aliens were eager to learn. They discovered that many of their most challenging problems could be solved with basic mechanical approaches. Quantum computers that had been crashing for years were fixed with simple vibration dampeners. Plasma generators that consumed too much energy were improved with mechanical flow regulators. Energy weapons that overheated were cooled with basic heat exchangers. Kangde watched his daughter with pride as she became famous throughout the galaxy. But he was most proud when she told him about her new plan. "I want to start a school," Nari said. "A place where human engineers and alien scientists can work together. We will call it the Galactic Institute for Practical Engineering." "That sounds like a big project," Condé replied. "It is, but I think the galaxy needs it. There are probably thousands of impossible problems out there that could be solved with simple solutions. Problems that advanced civilizations cannot fix because they are thinking too hard about them." The new soul arrived at Haven Prime right on schedule. As the passengers prepared to start their new lives on the colony world, word came that the Galactic Engineering Council had approved Nari's school proposal. Funding would come from all the major alien governments who were eager to learn human problem-solving techniques on the day before they reached Haven Prime. Vexstar, Morden and Zalfi held a farewell ceremony in the engine room. The mechanical governor and throttle were still working perfectly, their simple clicking sounds now a permanent part of the ship's operation. "Before we met you humans," Vextar said, "we believed that the most advanced solution was always the best solution. You have taught us that the most elegant solution is often the simplest one. You have reminded us that technology should serve life, not complicate it," Morden added. "And you have shown us that wisdom comes not from knowing everything, but from understanding the essential truths that connect everything," Zalfi concluded. Nari stood next to her father, looking at the simple mechanical devices they had built together. "Thank you for teaching me that the best way to solve any problem is to understand it first, then find the simplest solution that works." As the new Sol entered orbit around Haven Prime, its engines running more smoothly than ever before, a new chapter was beginning in galactic history. Human engineers would soon be working alongside alien scientists on every major project in the galaxy. Simple mechanical principles would be taught in the most advanced technical schools, and impossible problems would be solved by remembering that sometimes the oldest solutions are the best solutions. The clicking of the mechanical governor continued steadily in the engine room, a simple sound that had changed the galaxy forever. It was the sound of human ingenuity, of practical wisdom, of the understanding that in a universe full of complex wonders, the most powerful tool is often the simplest one. And in the years that followed, whenever alien engineers faced impossible problems, they would remember the lesson of the new Sol. Sometimes the mechanic's daughter sees solutions that the greatest experts cannot, because she looks with fresh eyes at old truths that never change.